In recent weeks, shocking events have shaken the nation. The assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, and the consequential public firing of late-night host Jimmy Kimmel. Two moments from opposite ends of political spectrum, yet linked by a common thread. Fear, outrage, and the growing question, is free speech in America under threat? Tonight, we ask the AI to analyze this pattern, not just in isolation, but through history, because the United States has faced moments like this before. Every time a nation is shocked by violence or unrest, a familiar cycle emerges. First crisis, then suppression, followed by backlash, and eventually a return to normal. But the cycle is never smooth, and never without consequences. So what does history tell us, and what does AI predict for America's future? The Civil War had just ended, and the nation was bitterly divided. Lincoln was murdered by John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer who hoped to revive the Southern cause. Almost immediately, loyalty oaths and restrictions on dissent tightened. For years, anyone associated with the Confederate sympathies risked surveillance, harassment, or worse. Suppression reigned, but eventually backlash came. By the 1870s, resistance to government overreach forced a new balance, though at a terrible cost of Reconstruction's collapse. At the dawn of the 20th century, anarchism was seen as a global terrorist movement. A wave of anarchist assassinations had killed leaders across Europe and also President McKinley. The response? Harsh laws banning anarchist speech, deportations, and even censorship of immigrant newspapers. But within a generation, America swung back, reaffirming the political ideas, however radical, had a place in public life. After World War II, America's new enemy was clear: the Soviet Union. Fear of communism gripped the US. Hollywood blacklists, loyalty oaths, and ruined careers. For 7 years, political speech was stifled. But the televised Army McCarthy hearings in 1954 flipped the script. The public saw the witch hunt for what it was. Backlash destroyed McCarthy's power, and free speech protections grew stronger in the decades that followed. The murders of JFK, MLK, and RFK created a crisis. At the same time, anti-war protests grew larger and more militant as the Vietnam War dragged on. Cities burned in riots, students clashed with police, and the government feared revolution. The FBI's COINTELPRO secretly spied on activists, labeling dissent as dangerous. Yet, when the truth leaked through the Pentagon Papers and the Church Committee, Americans were outraged. Again, backlash restored a broader acceptance of protest and political speech. Perhaps the most familiar to us today, the deadliest terrorist attack in US history, carried out by Al-Qaeda, killed nearly 3,000 people on American soil. The fear of more attacks drove the Patriot Act, mass surveillance, secret detentions, and a political climate where questioning the war on terror could be branded as unpatriotic. Muslims, immigrants, and anti-war critics often faced unfair scrutiny. For nearly a decade, surveillance was at its peak. But by the late 2000s, backlash grew. Lawsuits, whistleblowers, and public debate pushed America towards a more balanced approach. So, what happens now? The AI looks at the historical cycles and predicts America's path forward.
Stage 1 crisis. We are already here. The assassination of Charlie Kirk and the firing of Jimmy Kimmel have created a national climate of fear and distrust. For many, the message is clear. Political speech can cost you your life or your career. Stage 2. Suppression. History suggests this is coming next. Over the next 5 years, we may see tighter controls on political expression. Social media platforms will likely become more aggressive in banning dangerous content. Corporations may crack down on employees who voice controversial views, and government surveillance of online speech could expand, all in the name of preventing violence. Stage 3, backlash. But suppression never lasts forever. By the late 2020s, America's likely to see a cultural revolt. Comedians, artists, and grassroots activists will rally behind the First Amendment. Landmark court cases will challenge speech restrictions. Underground platforms will thrive. The very attempt to silence dissent will fuel its rebirth. Stage 4, normalization. By the 2030s, a new equilibrium forms. Free speech emerges stronger than before, especially in the digital space. Courts may even rule that online platforms must uphold First Amendment principles, treating them as modern public squares. But scars will remain, just as Reconstruction left scars, just as McCarthyism did. The fear and trauma of this moment will shape how Americans view speech for decades. So what does AI predict? That the U.S. is entering a turbulent period, where suppression of speech will tighten before liberty expands again. A storm is coming, but history tells us storms always pass. The real question is, when it does, what kind of America will we wake up to?
Thank you for watching the second episode of AI Predicts. As always, please leave a comment with your feedback and what you'd like AI to predict next. And if you enjoyed this video, please help the channel grow by subscribing. Once again, thank you so much for watching.